Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 54 units of real estate. So today I want to talk about putting too much on your plate, too much stress. And I fall victim to this a lot because I like to move at a fast pace. I'm wired a certain way and I like to take massive action, for better or for worse, right? It's helped me build a lot of wealth, but it's probably caused me more stress than I need, right? And I really realized this in 2023 when I basically was renovating my 26 unit apartment complex. I had a hard money loan on my 20 unit apartment complex, so that was under pressure. I had to renovate that, rent it out. And I was also dealing with my mobile home park renovation as well. And it wasn't being managed that great either. So, I'll probably segue into that. But, basically I was doing a lot simultaneously. I was working full time, had a 3-hour commute a day, renovating 90 units of real estate essentially. And managing my own real estate that I own as well outside of that, and trying to live a personal life. And at one point I was depressed, at one point I was overwhelmed, I was burnt out, didn't want to do anything, had no motivation. And that was a 3-month period of my life, right? Looking back, I grew a lot from that experience in that moment. And I wouldn't mind doing it again, knowing where I'd end up where I am today, right? So this is me kind of self-reflecting and being grateful for what I've accomplished and trying to see, how to pivot from there. So it's just really being grateful for what I've accomplished, right? And looking back, and I need to get better at that, personally, is just looking back, see how far I've come, appreciate what I've built, and really enjoy it and soak it in, right? So this is me reminding myself. But my biggest regret, I might name this video that, is purchasing my mobile home park, right? Like I looking back, that was like the dumbest purchase I made. It was in a bad area, high crime. It was mostly Section 8 at best. And I had low population growth. It was a mobile home park in the highest crime area. I was right across from the projects, which the cops, when I talked to the cops, were like, dude, this is the most dangerous area. Why would you buy there? And I was rosy-colored eyed and thought that, well, cops are typically going to be dramatic, so I didn't heed their warning. But, as I owned that mobile home park, a lot of stuff came true. Like, a lot of people did drug deals there. I had a homeless guy in one of the vacant homes, and one day he punched one of my property managers, or so I was told. It could have been a lie. We had a stabbing at the park. We had people pass away from COVID at the park. We had a contractor cheat with a lady, and then the husband found out. And then basically the person, I guess a side dude, ended up killing the main girl. So that happened. I had the dumpster stolen, and then they used that dumpster in my mobile home park to rob the gas store right next door. Had a lot of crazy things, right? Like, people used to bring their guns and shoot at those empty homes. So it's a rough area. And combined on all that, my property managers were probably stealing from me. They were probably stealing from me and doing drugs. That's what the new owner says. That's why the new owner that bought from me, they ended up firing them because I think they were doing drugs and stealing money, because we gave them a lot of petty cash to pay for miscellaneous things, and those miscellaneous things are probably drugs or whatever. And then the offsite property managers were also bad. They were probably stealing from me as well. I think they were upcharging me renovation fees without telling me. So it was all bad all around, right? Like, the fact that I came out of this losing $100,000 is nice. When I bought it for $1.1 million, I put 10% down. I had to pay these property managers / consultants $100,000, and they ended up being crooks. And basically from there, they managed it so poorly. Like, the offsite property manager is terrible, the onsite property manager is terrible. They never collected rents, or maybe they did collect the rents, but what was happening was maybe they just told me they didn't collect the rents, but in reality, maybe the property manager is just pocketing that rent to do drugs or whatever. Or, like I said, like, there's so many things going on, right? It just didn't check out. And high crime area, like, I think I had a mobile home burned down, got the insurance claim to pay for that. Like I said, the garbage was stolen to rob the gas liquor store next door. Property managers got attacked, apparently. I had to pay for security to be there. It's like almost $2,000 a month. Tenants were not paying rent, and the rent wasn't even that high. It was like $500 a month for a park-owned home, and $150 or $200 for lot rent. And it was during COVID, so it was hard to evict people. They told me that the district attorney was hard to get a hold of them to evict them, but that could have been a lie as well, to basically steal money from me. But it was funny, like the property managers, they when I bought the property, they talked bad about the prior owner, saying they did nothing. And then probably when they sold to the next owner, they were talking bad about me. But if you look at the common denominator, it's the property managers. They were bad, and probably stealing from the prior owner, probably stealing from me, and then probably was stealing from the new owner until they got rid of the new owners, or the new owners got rid of them. So yeah, that was a year of my life wasted. No, 2 years of my life. 1 year to give it a shot, and 1 year realizing it sucked. It took me a year to sell it. And initially they told me they could sell for $2.1 million, and that became $1.9 million. And then I ended up selling for $1.55 million, which was a $100,000 loss. I had to do a seller carry second of $450K at 5% interest. So I'm getting payments every month, but that money's not guaranteed either. So nothing's guaranteed, right? And then from there, it's really about having that system and that stress. And I remember like at one point I was losing $10K a month, and I don't know. I just remember the property manager. They said the right things, but their actions did not align. And it's usually a bad sign of like a terrible property manager. So you live and learn, right? And in the mobile home park industry, it's very mom and poppy. It's very snake oil salesman-y. So honestly, I would stay away from the mobile home park with a 10-foot pole, right? Unless you're buying a mobile home park in a premium area, like a A-class area. But even then, just mobile home park, there's so many moving pieces. They claim it's a cash cow. They claim that it's passive, but like it's so much work to like bring a home on there, and the homes depreciate in value. Like I say, if you're doing a rougher park, maybe a nicer park would have been better, but I had a rougher park. Like, oh my God, the headache was terrible. And then but the upside was so amazing to me, which blinded me to making a bad decision, right? Because it was easy for me to buy that mobile home park. It took me like 3 months to buy it. It took me a year to sell it. People don't think about that, right? And that's why, from that experience, I lost money, got a tax write-off, lost a few years of my life probably because of that. And it really gave me clarity to be like, what are you doing, Steven? Like, stop having shiny object syndrome. Just do what you're doing. Buy single family homes in Huntsville. Buy apartments in Oklahoma. Optimize your portfolio, which I'm doing. Like, reassess what you want to keep, what you want to sell. And like, you have enough as is. Like, just work with what you got, right? Take some chips off the table. And why are you doing, like, I don't need to go buy in Memphis. I don't need a partner. I don't need to buy self-storage. I don't need to buy triple net. Like, no, none of this makes sense. Just optimize what I got and continue doing what I'm doing, right? I already have systems in place to make it all work. So, like, it was a wake-up call for me. And, I get it. Like, when I bought that, sounded cool, sounds sexy, maybe an ego thing. I have no idea. But looking back, now when I hear someone saying, yeah, I own, like, one short-term rental in, like, Memphis, one short-term rental in Austin, one in Florida, and this, and people are so proud. I'm like, dude, that sounds terrible. That's not scalable, right? So, like, I'm elevating to the next level of real estate investing. And then one day, in 10 years from now, I might look back and be like, what are you doing, Steve? Like, why'd you buy these? So like, as you evolve, you got to like pivot your portfolio. Like, look at all the Airbnb gurus, even like Rob, who was on Bigger Pockets. He had like 30 or 40 Airbnbs. It's not scalable. What is he doing now? He's selling it all, 1031 exchange it into boutique hotels. That's what they're doing, because they realize that Airbnbs are not scalable. Like, Airbnb is only good if like you're self-managing it yourself. And yes, it can make you a lot of cash flow if you do it right, and enough to replace your job, but it's so variable and it's not scalable. Like, I don't know anybody who has a large Airbnb portfolio. They all trade up to like, basically, boutique hotels, because that's basically a more scaled up version of that, and it's way more passive, way more economies of scale, right? So like, just see the end game. Like, it sounds cool and sexy to do. I never fell into that hype, but like, or even like rent arbitrage, like, the only people making money off that are people selling the courses, right? Not people actually doing it. So yeah, that's not what I want to do, not my business I want to do, but I get it. That gets quick cash. It's fast, it's popular. But look at them. Like I said, all the Airbnb people, the big ones, they're 1031 exchanging them into boutique hotels. So, that's what they're doing. And then, for me, I was leveraging, built up equity, 50%, debt to equity, and looking at probably taking some more debt off the table, right? Like by selling, one property, I'd lose a $600,000 loan, and then I'd pay off my primary, which would wipe off a $850K loan. So that's about $1.5 million of debt off the table. I'm looking at doing a 1031 exchange for my 20 unit, and it's going to be owned 2 free and clear, and then one's going to have some debt on there. And I'll pay some taxes, but that takes some debt off the table as well, and leveraging less. So like I'm repivoting, right? Now that I kind of hit my end game, like my goal was $10 million net worth. And we're getting close there. So we're going to repivot our portfolio to optimize more towards cash flow, more towards less stress, and more towards just easiness, right? So I might be going down to like mid 30s in terms of units if I sell my 20 unit. But it'd be like a higher quality, portfolio, because obviously the 20 unit that I have, a little more work, a little more headache. The money was made from me buying it, fixing it up, and basically increasing the rents. But now, it's just not making sense for me to keep it long term. I'd rather just cash in the equity and then get something that gives me more cash flow. That's less headache, right? So it's like trading up that asset to something newer and something, it'd get rid of one property manager for me. So I'm only down from 3 to 2. So simplify my business, as well as give me more economies of scale. If I own more of another property manager, I can negotiate a discount on my property management fee. So that's really what I'm trying to do now, right? And I had to get slapped in the face a few times in order to learn that. And, a lot of people, they claim they never lose in real estate. And the only way you never lose in real estate is if you buy houses all cash. So that's what the Anton guy does. He said he never lost in real estate. And I had a suspicion that he either A, did large down payments or bought all cash. And then he had a video sharing that he had 20 units of real estate. He actually paid it all cash, but he does his own development. So he buys land, and land in Detroit, it's probably affordable compared to like California. And then he buys that probably cash, and then he finances his construction cash. So let's say it might cost him, I don't know, $200,000. And he obviously has economies of scale, uses the same material, same contractor, same design, and built 20 all cash. Each rents for $2,000. So let's just say he's all in for $250 to build it, but maybe it's worth $300. So he baked in some instant equity. He doesn't have much capex because it's brand new. And if it rents for $2,000 a month, a lot of it's cash flow because he actually self-manages his properties as well. So that's something that we're doing as well, or thinking of doing maybe. But basically that's his system, right? He buys it he builds new construction cash. So there's no hard money loan, there's no bridge debt. He's probably building instant equity. He's able to get, $2,000 in rent, and he's self-managing it, so he's not paying a 10% fee on top of that. Probably his wife or something is managing it, right? So they're claiming real estate professional status so that they can write off his immediate income business, right? So that's what he's doing, and that's why he's never lost. But how many people can be in that position where you're making so much money from your business? Like that's what Dave Ramsey does as well. He basically makes so much money from his media business, and he uses it to buy that. He buys triple net properties cash. But like, if you're an average Joe like me, working at W-2, and I make a high income W-2, but even then, like it's hard to really save money. Like scrounging up a, $80,000, $100,000 down payment, it's hard enough, and you want to recycle that money as much as possible. So that's why you get the leverage to begin with, right? So there's no right or wrong way to do it. Obviously, if I had the choice if I was making a bunch of money from my YouTube channel and I could use it to buy houses cash, I would prefer to do that probably. But that's not my situation, that's not my case. So I have to leverage a little bit more. I have to take more risk, and I have to, deal with more headache, right? So that's really what it is. But the people that say they don't lose, they just buying it cash. And of course you can't lose. I wouldn't lose either if I was buying cash. But realistically, getting started, you're putting 3.5% down, 5% down, 10% down, and you're going to be doing that for at least 10 years. And maybe once you build up some appreciation and some equity, you can, be in a stronger position. But in the beginning, for average Joe W-2, that's how you scale, right? You have to leverage, unfortunately. And then once you get to a certain point, you have to take some chips off the table. And that's the point where I'm getting at, where I'm probably taking chips off the table. And, wiping off almost like, 1.5 to $2 million of debt off the table, right? By selling some and paying some off, and, doing 10,000 exchange for my 20 unit. So, it'd almost take me off like $2 million in debt. So I'd be $3 million in debt, instead. So, you got to constantly reassess your portfolio and then make moves that make sense for you. And then, like I said, I understand the business side. So like, I want to build up my media business, so that I could, have more money to live my life. And also maybe if I'm get to Anton's level, yeah, I'll be buying houses cash. I'll be buying homes in Huntsville, Alabama, all cash. And they'd be cash flowing great, right? $2,000 each. So, but obviously, I don't make, $400,000 a month, right? That's not even what I make in a year. So, you got to play the game with the hand that you're dealt, and, eventually your hand improves. And as your hand improves, then you can take less risk of real estate, right? So that's the name of the game. So anyways, sorry for the rant here, but just wanted to give some value, some perspective, some mindset. Let me know if you have any questions. If you want to join my school community on a free trial, if you want a steadily landlord insurance quote to see if you can save money, if you want to send me an email, you want courses, you want coaching, click on my link tree. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.